Side note, I often tout my Midwesternness because, having grown up here, I smugly think that the values imparted on me of making do with what you have and striving not for perfection but for adequacy are better than whatever your values are. I kid, mostly, but lately I've been discovering what I call toxic Midwesternity in myself and some of my friends. The general aversion towards spending time, effort, and especially money on things which could materially improve your life often causes folks like me to just accept a clearly suboptimal situation as fine. Like, for instance, a 60-year-old wooden stepladder that's way too old, rickety, and wobbly to be trusted at this point, especially as one is getting on in years. Perhaps the purchase of a new stepladder is obviously warranted, but toxic Midwesternity will keep you from buying a new one because you already have a perfectly good stepladder, but really is clearly dangerous at this point. That's right, I'm calling you out, Mr. C. Throw that thing away. Why am I bringing this up? Right, because this feels adjacent to that phenomenon. Having lived my whole life expecting can openers to be a certain way, well, I've simply never questioned their issues. And even though I knew a can opener existed which didn't leave sharp edges, I did indeed see that episode of Raymond, never did I try to seek it out because, well, a can opener is a can opener. And I'm a big boy. I know how to handle sharp edges. I only got this because my cheap can opener has started getting really difficult to use, and when looking for a replacement, I remembered that someone reminded me about the safety can opener and actually requested a video on it. Regretfully, I have no idea who that was or even when that happened at this point, but it lodged in my brain enough to make me look for one, and here we are. Wow, this video took a weird turn. Is there a technology connection to be found here? Well, I suppose it's more of a social commentary connection, but this can opener has led me to ask a pretty deep question. What else might we be using or doing in day-to-day life which we just assume is how things are and never question? That's a deep line of inquiry, isn't it? You can choose to go as deep as you'd like, but I'll just pull us back from that precipice and focus on technologies. I think it's very normal and useful to be cynical towards what purports to be technological progress. There are plenty of instances where tried and true, simple techniques are, frankly, fine, if not superior. And a lot of what we are sold as new and exciting turns out to be a gimmick if we're lucky. It's very easy to overcomplicate things in the name of the new, and understandably, that can make us skeptical of innovation, full stop. The trouble is, though, if you make the assumption that there aren't improvements to be made, you may not ever look for them, and indeed can miss a lot of progress that is happening around you while you aren't paying attention. Even something as simple as a can opener has had a profound change made to its design that, to me, has improved my life in a surprising, if admittedly small in the grand scheme, way. Yet, not a lot of people seem to have noticed it. Perhaps I'm wrong and many of you have used these and you can't stand them, but seeing how there was just this one option in the store among well over a dozen standard designs of various quality and colors, I'm thinking this remains pretty obscure. And as I've said and hopefully demonstrated, I find this far superior in nearly all aspects as a can opener. I opened this video by saying that part of what makes us individuals is that our own pros and cons lists are unique. I still think that's true, and maybe many of you will have watched this video and found this can opener to be entirely unextraordinary. I mean, it is just a can opener after all. But I think we owe it to ourselves to, at least periodically, reassess our thoughts on, well, pretty much anything. I have routinely run into people who, for instance, had a bad experience with a heat pump 20 years ago and dread the push for them now, based on that fact. But 20 years have passed. They've gotten better in that time, I promise you. But unless you actively take a look, you may have never realized it. And if you didn't like what you saw 20 years ago, you probably stopped caring to look. That's just one example, but the idea remains the same. be it a can opener, a heat pump, a software package, a washing machine, we seem to really struggle with the notion of, well, that's just how things are, or sometimes worse, that's just how things should be, and rarely question whether that's true or right. If I can find myself baffled by my ignorance of a simple can opener, imagine what else in this world is actually worthy of disruption. But I think equally important is that sometimes it's not actually the thing itself that needs disrupting, but the ways we think about it.